It has been a banner year for Market Movers, with our membership count more than doubling since the start of the year. That is the most explosive growth that we have ever seen since we first launched the app back in February 2020. That, of course, means good things for us here at Sports Card Investor and Market Movers, but I also think it means good things for the sports card hobby overall. What does it say about the strength of the hobby today that a pricing and collection tracking platform could more than double its subscriber base in 8 months, 4 years into its journey? We're going to break it down today and also talk about what is next for Market Movers and this space in general. Tyler Nethercott, you know him as T-Pott, our head of product from Sports Card Investor and Market Movers, is joining the show to do just that. T-Pott, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, Geoff.
It's great to see you, sir.
Yes, sir.
And it's awesome to have you here on such a big moment.
Yeah.
We are 8 months into the year, going on almost 9 months here into the year, and we have doubled. We have doubled our paid subscriber base to Market Movers this year. I was not expecting this.
I know you weren't.
I wasn't. In fact, recently, you sent back to me a text message that I had sent you after the National last year. I was happy with our growth at the National in 2023. And I made a comment to you about how I thought our growth was good, but I also thought there was probably kind of a ceiling limiting to how much further we could grow. Never did I expect in the first 8 months of 2024 that we would more than double our paid subscriber base. Never did I suspect that 2024 would be the year that we would grow the most members out of all of the years that we've operated this. Not 2020, not 2021.
Right.
I wouldn't have guessed 2022 or 2023, but 2024 is the year where we're growing faster than ever before. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what do you make of all of this?
Well, first of all, I'm excited that this lined up nicely with my 4-year review,
yes,
which we're going to have this week.
This is true.
So that'll be a good conversation. But there's a lot of things contributing, I think, to this growth for our platform. Some of that has to do with focus on the app. When you started building this, or late 2019, right?
Yep.
Right when you kind of launched it. You and I connected on Discord. I had been following you on YouTube. We got connected through Discord. I was a moderator in the early days of the Discord, SCI Discord server. And you found a little bit about my background, and I was working in data management and software. And I got in there, started doing some beta testing. We're growing the thing. And soon thereafter, I joined the team, full time. Well, back then, your expectation was nowhere near what Market Movers has become today.
Nowhere near.
Like nowhere near.
I was so far off.
Right. So why does that matter? It matters because when you talk about developing software, ideally you have some sense of scale and where you're trying to take an app. When you start choosing infrastructure solutions, you start architecting the thing, you start thinking about how do we need to be able to manage this and scale it up from an administrative, a data management perspective. And no offense, but I don't think any of those things were really taken into consideration at all. And we started out working, with a few contract developers and just sort of off and running. And in a way, that was great. We had the first product of its kind to the market, and that helped us early, and we started gaining traction, and everything kind of dovetailed nicely with the growth of the SCI channel.
Yeah, and just to jump in for a second there, February 2020 was when Market Movers launched, and February 12th, 2020. And as you said, there was nothing out there like it. There was no program that could chart the prices of sports cards. Market Movers was the first one to ever do it. There was no program where you could type in a card and see a clean, verified sales history of transactions related to that card. Nothing like that. Market Movers was the first one to do it. Today, there's some others, but Market Movers started it all. So yes, when I launched it, I didn't anticipate it becoming as big as it is today. I didn't, because there was no market established. Once we were out there and people started to see the growth of what we were doing, and then you had other apps kind of follow suit, then it became more obvious, oh, there's a real market here. There's there's tens of thousands of people that want to pay a monthly fee to use this product or products like this. But back then there wasn't. So yeah, you're right. We cut a lot of corners to get the first version off the ground. And it was so limited compared to what it is today. When we launched, we were tracking around 600 cards.
Yeah.
600 cards. You could go in and look up price charts for 600 cards. Today, it's over 3.5 million.
3.9, I think now.
3.9 million.
Yeah.
It was 600 on our launch day.
Yeah.
So our whole infrastructure was built around the idea that we would support 600 cards, not 3.9 million cards.
Yeah, maybe a few thousand, I think, was the original estimate.
Correct. Yeah. I didn't see any world in where I thought we were going to be ever tracking more than, 5,000 cards or something. And here we are at 3.9 million.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So what that means, without getting too geeky, nerdy on the actual technical solutioning, is we had to, over time, we had to switch databases. We had to choose a SQL database and a NoSQL database. We had to switch to serverless. We had to do a lot of things to support scalability, to keep the app performant. And to be totally honest, we worked through some real challenges over the last few years. You say this all the time about, software development, about entrepreneurship, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That happened many times. I think that's important because we've finally reached a point where we've really shored up a lot of that stuff. We still have tech debt that we're working through, and I think we always will. That's part of the process. But we've reached a point where we were trying to be very aggressive in pushing out new feature sets. I'm an ideas guy. You're an ideas guy. We've never had any shortage of ideas. Plus, we get a lot of great ideas from our community and from the hobby in general about what do people want and what do they need in an app. You have to balance that out with spending the time to actually do all this back-end work, set up the right infrastructure, and go down that path. We've had to balance those things out. Sometimes certain things, performance and other things, sort of force the issue, and we would swarm the team and get it fixed and make sure everything was running. Now we're at this point where we've been able to really stay laser focused. We're looking a lot more into analytics, usage rates in the app. We're talking to people, and we're saying, let's go through and actually polish all these different components of the app, including a big, set of releases that we just released for mobile just in time for the national, to, some of the things you've been highlighting in your videos, to sort of be able to look at the pricing for all the grades, a lot of different improvements. So that's a really nice, almost like product plateau to hit, where we can finally start polishing and refining the existing feature set, making them easier to use, more intuitive, focusing on continuously improving the best things while continuing to scale the database now to almost 4 million cards. That, by the way, has doubled year over year. So while our member count hasn't doubled every year, certainly our database has continued to double, and we continue to have that be the plan, to grow it, to expedite that process. So I think that's a big part of what has contributed to the growth of Market Movers, is all the little kinks and things that weren't straightforward or could be better. We keep making those things better. The feedback's been really good. That helps with churn. That helps reduce churn when people sign up. They have a better user experience. That's certainly something big. But even bigger picture, when we look at the card industry and the hobby overall, there's just more and more and more people still coming in. We see really strong volume still for sales on eBay, the number of sales happening. Yes, prices obviously have corrected down over the last 3 years, but sales volume has remained incredibly strong. And I think there's a lot of new people coming in. We talked about it with Fanatics Fest. In general, we know there's a lot more marketing and people coming in. When they see Market Movers on the SCI channel, when they see Market Movers on the Market Movers YouTube channel, which has been doing much better recently, I think they get exposed to it and they're staying and they're enjoying the app, and the feedback has been really good from the user base, which is ultimately, for myself and my team, what's most gratifying about the whole experience.
Yeah, all these things are true. And it's still wild for me to think that in the year 2024, we're setting growth records. But as you said, there's a lot of new people coming into the hobby right now. I feel it. We see it at Cards HQ. You saw it at Fanatics Fest. You saw it at the National. There were a lot of people that were at the National for the first time. We're seeing this kind of resurgence in new people coming into the hobby again. We see it in our content. I think one thing that has, we're having the best year in terms of our content numbers.
Yeah.
At the National, our videos from the National this year outperformed our videos from the National last year by about 50% in terms of view count. And in terms of total watch time, it's even bigger than a 50% increase from last year. That shows two things. First of all, frankly, we gotten better at producing the content. Our video team, our production team's gotten better over time. I think our content's more watchable. I think it's better than it's been in previous years. But also, there's just more people out there wanting to consume it. There's more people that are having an interest in sports cards. There's more people that are Googling to find out about sports cards, that are searching YouTube to look for sports card videos. So that's a good thing, right? And the same, that growth wave seems to be happening in the hobby overall right now. The same as I think that's part of the reason why we're seeing the growth that we're seeing with market movers. Same reason why we're seeing more people walk into Cards HQ. That is true. But as you also touched on, we are in a much better position today with the Market Movers app, especially the mobile experience, by the way, and we're seeing in our numbers, and this is probably no surprise to anybody who knows, tech and the direction things have headed, but the vast majority of our users are coming in on the mobile side.
Yep.
That is where many of our users are coming in these days. It used to be desktop, and we used to put more emphasis on the desktop product, and the desktop product is still great. It's still what I use often because it allows you to crunch the numbers and everything in more detail because it's a bigger interface. But mobile on the go, being able to track your collection on the go, being able to use that at a card show, that's so valuable. Yeah. And more users are coming in on the mobile side. And we've put a lot of work into improving the interface for both mobile and desktop. It started last year. Last year at the National, we launched what we called MMX. Which we've kind of got away from using that as a term, but that was like a complete overhaul of,
was that two years ago
at the National?
That was 2 years ago.
Last year you're right. 2 years ago at the National, we launched MMX. Yeah. Last year at the beginning of the year, we launched the new app, new version of the app. So 2 years ago was the desktop version of MMX. Yep. But then it was early last year that we launched the retooled version of the app. Yeah. That has made a big difference. And then since then, as you've talked about, we've kind of continuously improved the interface of the app. Just recently, we made it a lot easier, like within the last month, we made it a lot easier for people to add cards to their collection, which is a big deal because obviously if people are actively using market movers to track their collection, they're more likely to stay with market movers. As we make improvements like that, the idea is that it brings churn rate down. It brings the number of people that are canceling their subscriptions down because people are finding it more valuable. So what we've seen this year overall is we've seen churn rate reduce. We've seen the number of new trials of the app, the number of new people subscribing for the first time increase dramatically. Right. And when you combine those two, many more people are trying it. And once they try it, it's less likely for people to cancel their subscription because it's stickier, it's better, they're having a better experience. The combination of those two leads to very powerful things in your subscriber numbers, which for us has led in 8 months to our number of paid subscribers doubling.
Yeah. I mean, let's talk about mobile. I think that makes perfect sense, right? We know this. Most people are shopping for cards on their phone. I almost exclusively buy cards on eBay through the eBay mobile app. Like, it's rare that I'm on my computer shopping on eBay. Part of it is because eBay's mobile app is better, I think, a better user experience than their website. But part of it's just because it's always on the go and you have cards ending on auction at all times. You're always checking your save searches compulsively. So that's a big part of shopping. It makes sense that people are comping cards then from their phone as well. Many people today don't even have a computer. They use their phone or they use a tablet, and maybe that's what they have for a technology solution. We started out the product almost more like a Power BI MicroStrategy type tool. Like that was the design for market movers, right? Was to kind of go down that heavy analytics path, which necessitates in a way having a computer sized screen at least to see the charts, to actually be able to do multiple things. Now what we've tried to do is continue to evolve the product to serve the entire hobby, to serve anybody. We're very much down the path of trying to put more into the database to support the everyday collector, whether that means just people who collect cards of all prices from $1 and up, or just people who like to collect in volume, who want to shop and comp things like that with sales history, or like you said, track those in their collection. It used to be very difficult to add what we call a manual card to your collection because you'd have to fill in all the details for that card. obviously our growth on the featured card side has been impressive, I think, and I'm really proud of our team and our data team's effort on that. But there's still millions and millions and millions of cards in existence that we're not yet actively doing price tracking on. So if you wanted to add those, you had to fill in all the details. You talked about it. We've expedited that process significantly. You can basically choose a transaction now, a sales history transaction, and just use that to like auto-populate all the details for the cards, add them in, and then you can check the price literally just by clicking on the card, and it'll run a query and check the price in sales history for you. So it's all integrated. It's all seamless now. It doesn't matter if you're a long-term investor, a short-term flipper speculator, or somebody who would just be considered a true pure collector. All of those people have that need for that portfolio management, that tracking, and now it's made really, really seamless. I've added way more manual cards to my collection in the last few months since we've made these changes than I had ever added before, and I'm continuing to do that. I'm kind of pulling out boxes at home and logging this stuff so I know what I have. But overall, I would say it's been really valuable to be able to pull back, kind of come up for air with respect to some of that back end work we were doing, and add that level of polish to everything while we're continuing to go down the path of like what else can make the biggest impact for our users. What we're focused on big time right now is data growth, database growth, integrating a catalog. That's sort of the next missing piece, is to make it so that you can just find all the master data, all the metadata attributes about a card within Market Movers, to take that sort of exploratory aspect of the hobby to the next level. And that's what I'm super pumped about us getting into next.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, sometimes what can make a product successful, I mean, oftentimes this is, pretty common Silicon Valley advice, is focus on the few key features that people care about the most and make those features the best out there.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the other 88 features you could add or any of the fluff. It's all, the most people are going to subscribe if you've really nailed a couple of key features. When it comes to an app like ours, where you're trying to look up card prices or track your collection, the size of the card database makes a huge difference. A huge difference. Yep. We have 2 layers of data within our app. And by the way, when we implemented this also was one of the biggest drivers that we've seen to reducing churn. It was about a year. It was actually for last year's national, I think, right? When we instituted the
sales history.
The combination of feature cards and sales history. This was a huge advancement in the app and in the desktop version as well. So, I mean, the way that it works right now is if you go into our search and you type in a card, it's first going to check our close to 4 million cards that are in our what we call our featured card database. Those are cards where we have essentially identified the card, we have an image of the card, and we have a very complex way of pulling in all of the sales data for each of those cards and refining it so that you can see charts, so that you can see a clean history of sales in that particular card. You can differentiate between different sales and different grades very quickly via dropdown. You can differentiate it between different parallels of that card and see all the prices and all the different parallels via a very clean, easy to use dropdown. Yep. All that information is right there. Those are the featured cards. But we also recognize that there are over 30 million cards that have ever been created. So our featured cards are still only a smaller subset of the overall card universe. So that's why we also have our complete sales history, which is just a complete data dump of all of the sales that have ever taken place in recent years on sites like eBay, Fanatics Collect, Golden, Heritage, and a ton of different REAs on there. Oh, you get a ton of different auction houses that are all part of that. And so the way that we set up the search is, when you're searching now, it starts by searching the feature card database. Yep. And then if it can't find a match, it automatically moves you over to sales history and then just does a generalized query on the entire sales history database to show you any sales transactions that could be a match to the thing you're looking for. That was a super powerful combo. Something that none of the other pricing apps out there, none of the competitive products have that the way that we have it.
Right.
None of them have anywhere close to 3.9 million feature cards. I mean, I'm talking like we are magnitudes, eons beyond what any of the others have. Yeah. And that's a big deal. And I think that when we launched that last summer, combined with continuing to push that number of feature cards up, you're talking about the data expansion, that has been a true differentiator of our product. And I think that's part of the reason why we've doubled this year. And why we're growing so quickly, because that experience for our users is really good. And as we continue to push, we don't want our featured cards to just be 3.9 million.
Right.
I mean, you want to get to the point. You want to get to the point where practically any card is actually a feature card. Not, you don't have to go to sales history for it, which is going to take us some time to get there. But we're pushing hard in that direction.
Yeah, I mean, we've learned a lot in 4 years of working on data and building these queries and building out cards and how to systematize that and how to make it more and more and more efficient. And that's why we've been able to double year over year. We have not massively scaled up our data team resources. We just have a very knowledgeable, very dedicated data team who are committed to their craft and what they do. And the more time that they've spent writing these queries and doing things, the more their lessons learned and how to make sure they can balance not pulling in too much of the wrong data, but not missing out on the right data. It is as much of an art as it is a science. I tell people that all the time. And when people ask me, why should I use market movers over just looking up things on eBay or over using another app or another website or something, I tell them more than anything, it's because of that database size. It's because you have all the comps at your fingertips that you could possibly need. And then on top of it, you have this database that if you go use our feature like price movements, you can look at that entire 3.9 million card repository and see down to the individual card which ones have gone up the most and gone down the most in terms of price change, sales volume, all of these things over time. You can't do that in an app that has 50, 60, 100,000 cards or whatever that they're tracking in. It's not the same thing. And that comes into play when we talk about our indexes and other things that we track. You've got to have a certain amount of baseline volume, a big enough sample size, if you will, to even claim that you're able to represent what a particular player's market has been doing, what a particular segment of the hobby has been doing, what a sport has been doing. You've got to be actually tracking all those cards. It's not enough to say, Pistol Pete Maravich is up this much over this time frame if you only track 6 cards. You need to be tracking more than that to have a good representation of that. So that continues to be a lot of our focus. And then if you just think about how we've also modified our subscription tiers and how people can get in. Really, our goal is to be able to serve the entire hobby, literally everybody in the hobby, sports and trading cards, by the way, which is something we're getting more and more into, with a product that makes sense for their level of collecting or their budget, their investment level. I don't have to tell you this, software development is not cheap. It is not cheap to staff a team of developers and product managers and data people and myself and everybody else. That costs money. So there's this sort of like prevailing idea today, because so many apps are quote unquote free, that why isn't your app just free? Well, we have to obviously be able to make this sustainable over time. I've been really grateful for that approach in terms of how we've done it with steady growth. We've done it with steady growth in the product, with our team. We didn't get way ahead of ourselves, during that high period a couple of years ago and triple our team size and then have to lay half of them off like a lot of the bigger companies, have had to do. We're just continuing to chip away. As we do that, 2 years ago, I think when we launched MMX, we also added in that starter tier, $10 a month. $10 a month or less than that if you do an annual, $99.99 a year. A lot of times we run coupons and discount codes. So you're talking about getting access to this comprehensive database for like $7, $8, $10 a month. That's not a bad price. Even beyond that, we have our free Sports Card Investor app, completely free, no cost. We have our sportscardinvestor.com price guide, free, no cost. So we've continued to bring value down into these lower tiers of market movers. That's the goal, right? It's like, if you want the full unlimited suite of products and everything that we've put our time and energy into, more analytical power, access to private calls, to have conversations with, we're just trying to build that out in a way that's meaningful for anybody who wants to use our products, whether that's free or all the way up to $50 a month. That's sort of the strategy. And I think that's been really well received too.
I think it's worked well for us. I think having the pricing tiers and the different levels of what we're able to provide, I think that has worked well for us. And, you're seeing people move. Like, one thing we've also been seeing in our data is like people start off using the product for free. then they subscribe
Yep.
to the lowest subscription level, and then they move up to the next subscription level at some point in time if they want to track more cards in their collection or whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And so we're seeing those people kind of progress through, and that's exactly what we want. Like we're happy for people to get in and use our app for free and try it out and test it out and play with it as long as they want to for free, because they'll start to see if we've built a good product, which we have, they'll start to see the value in the product, and they'll start to see why the product's good and why the product's helpful. And if they continue to get more into cards, then there will become a point when they say, okay, it's time for me to, bite the bullet and get a subscription to this. And as you said, to get the base subscription, less than $10 a month for the base subscription. And you get a world of data by doing that. Yeah. And then as you get more serious and maybe you've found ways to flip some cards and make some money, your collection goes beyond a certain value, then maybe you go beyond the $10 a month subscription up to something more. But, the product can kind of grow along with the individual's journey into the sports card world. So I like how we've done that. I think that tiers and everything like that have made sense. And we played with that some over time. Yeah. Like the pricing on the products evolved quite a bit over time since when we first launched back in 2020. Yeah. And I think we've kind of found a sweet spot of what's working really well for our users.
We're running a for-profit business,
sure,
trying to earn, revenue to sustain and support this team. And you have to be profitable. Anybody who, wants to run a business, you have to be profitable. But the approach that we've taken has very much been one of playing the long game, both with our product roadmap, with our database growth, with our member growth, with our team size and everything. It's just kind of, we're playing I wouldn't call it slow and steady. I mean, many things that we're doing are fast, but it's steady, it's focused, and it's calculated over time in all of those different aspects of what we're doing. And I think it's served us really well, and I'm pretty confident it'll continue to do that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. And I'm excited about the future. I think as we look out towards what the next few years are going to bring for the sports card hobby, I really think one of the biggest things that is going to happen is Topps and Fanatics taking over the NFL license and the Major League and the NBA license. Because so far, with all of the marketing that they have already put into this, and the big event like Fanatics Fest they just threw and everything like that, all they have right now is the Major League Baseball license, which they've done a great job of growing the products around that and the audience around that. And then they've got some soccer, UFC, that kind of thing. But they've got F1, but Major League Baseball's been the big one they've had. They've had no football cards. I guess Bowman U if you go to college.
Which has been very popular.
Actually, that product's done very well for them. I shouldn't say Bowman U. It's actually Bowman U. That's actually been a good product. But they've had no professional football cards. They've had no professional basketball cards. Now that is all changing this week with their first football and basketball products. Topps Chrome coming back to both. Topps Composite for football. But they're not licensed.
Yeah.
And so you're going to see, I think, some interest in those products. I think you're going to see people buying those products, but they're not going to go full-fledged. I think this is a warm-up act. I think the reason why they're doing these products is they're getting the experience under their belt. They're getting the designs in place. They're getting their teams, working towards deadlines in the football and basketball arena. They're creating the relationships with the athletes on autographs and all that kind of stuff to kind of get the flywheel going so that when they officially get those licenses, which I believe NBA is next year, so it's not going to be that long. I believe before next NBA season, not this upcoming one, this fall, but before next fall, they'll have the NBA license. And then the following spring is when they'll have the NFL license. So basically, we've got only one more season of NBA before Topps takes NBA over officially licensed. We've got 2 more seasons of NFL before Topps takes NFL over officially licensed. So we get a little more of a wait there, but nonetheless, I think this starts to build that repetition and lead towards that. As they start heading down that path, I expect them to be even more successful with their marketing, because I expect them to be able to pull in football card audience, pull in basketball card audience. And what we just saw with Fanatics Fest up in New York, where they did a great job of activating, the everyday sports fan and bringing them over. their desire to do that, especially amongst NFL fans, which wasn't super represented in New York. I mean, obviously they couldn't get any current NFL athletes there because, they're all in training camps and everything like that preseason. But, their ability to activate with NFL fans in the future and having current NFL athletes there in the future, and then their ability to also activate even more with NBA. They did do some NBA this year. They had Kevin Durant showed up for it. Jalen Brunson was there. They had some current NBA guys there, but they can do even more with that in the future as well. I think that will just draw more and more fans in, get more and more fans into those lines of cards. So I'm expecting the overall hobby to really continue to tick up over these next 5 years. And I think if we continue to run the playbook that we're currently running with market movers and expand the card database, include all of the new sets, right, when they come out into our card data and everything of that nature, and that we will capture those new NFL fans, those new NBA fans as they're coming into the market. They're going to use the products. They're going to hopefully eventually subscribe, have a great collecting experience. And I don't know, can we double again? Can we double again this next 8 months?
There's so many plugs into what makes a good hobby experience, so many different factors and variables, some of which we have an impact over with our products, with our content. Fanatics is going to be the big driver. They are going to be there. They're the manufacturer. I would say Fanatics. I would say Collectors Universe, with grading and all of that stuff. And then the content world out there, those are big players, much bigger even than our digital products, even though technology is really important. And everybody kind of needs to be doing their part to make sure that the people who find their way in have a great initial experience and continue to have a great experience. I think Fanatics needs to hopefully be thinking about that, not just the short game, not just the how do we give somebody that adrenaline rush, that dopamine hit, on the first day? How do we make sure they feel really good about wanting to stay in the hobby for the long term? But let's take football for an example. So a few years ago, I think Fanatics came out with their kind of market research and estimated that somewhere between 2 and 3 million people had bought a sports card within the preceding year.
Yeah.
Okay. Don't quote me on the exact numbers, but I believe the estimated global number of NFL fans is like 441 million. And people who watch the Super Bowl, 200, 230, 250 million people watch the Super Bowl every year, something like that. So when you talk about 10xing the hobby, I mean, I don't know what the number would be within 2 to 3 million of people who bought a football card, probably a few 100,000, 3, 4, 500,000 people maybe. That's the ceiling, that's the top of the people who are interested in NFL football, who are interested in buying jerseys and expressing their fandom, so to speak, and in going to football games and in sports gambling and all of those other aspects. So now they're trying to reach that audience and show them why sports cards are cool, why this is fun, why it's a viable alternative investment option in some cases, and with iconic cards. I think that's going to be really interesting to see how do they do that too with the economies of scale and make it so that a product is still fun to rip and engaging. They're not oversaturating the market. That hopefully Topps Chrome football boxes don't go up to $850, $1,500 like Prism. There's so many different factors in this, but the number of people, I don't really think you can overstate it. I don't think you can overstate the number of people, the potential.
There's a lot of potential there. And then the other aspect, so I think as I look at kind of Fanatics growth plans and their goal to 10x, part of it is exactly what we just talked about, getting those 441 million people that identify as NFL fans, getting a greater percentage of those into collecting. Absolutely. Same with NBA, same with Major League Baseball. But the other big part of it, in my opinion, is expansion globally and getting into markets where there's just not really any collectors right now. And, Fanatics has targeted the UK and soccer as a big card growth opportunity. I think we all believe that it is. The penetration of soccer card collecting among soccer fans is so much smaller than the penetration of football card collecting amongst American football fans, which is still small. Like you were just talking about those numbers and how few fans there are that are actually collectors in American football. Well, in soccer, it's multitudes smaller. Yeah. The number of people who are actually collectors of soccer cards versus the number of people that are soccer fans worldwide. And so Topps sees that. Fanatics sees that. They're squarely targeting the UK as a starting point. I think there's a lot of growth opportunity throughout Europe. And I think that, once again, these, we get more soccer collectors and more people are buying soccer cards in Europe, even if they if they grow that base 10x, which I wouldn't think would be that hard to do because they're starting from a small number there, then that's a lot more potential users of Market Movers. And
so what's really interesting, we have, what are we at, like 350,000 on our YouTube channel for SCI, somewhere around there.
Yep.
We just hit an exciting milestone at 25,000 on the Market Movers channel.
Congratulations on that as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
What's mind-blowing is there are a couple of Spanish YouTubers in Spain, Spanish YouTubers, who have almost 1 million and like 1.1 million subscribers to their channels. And they're opening basically like mostly Panini sticker soccer and match attacks.
Yep.
And they have that many subscribers. Like, soccer is on another level globally and regionally. When you talk about national team fandom, club team fandom, it pulls all that stuff together. And at the heights of that, when you start talking about obviously Messi, Ronaldo, Haaland, Mbappe, some of these biggest names, the potential is mind-blowing. And when you look at the prices of cards relative to that global audience, I still can't wrap my head around how quote-unquote cheap some of these cards are for literally the best cards or even just everyday cards of some of the greatest athletes of all time. It's wild.
I agree. I'm with you. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be exciting to see it go along. And I know we're going to be there with the data library to support it. We have one thing that I think we've done a good job of is not just concentrating on the primary American sports with our data library. I mean, our data library's got a lot more coverage of things like soccer and hockey and other sports that don't get as much attention. Even on our channel, they don't get as much attention from a content perspective. And it's not perfect, and we certainly could expand more. And I know we hear sometimes from our hockey subscribers that we need more hockey cards in our database, but it's a lot better than anything else out there, by far. And we will continue to grow the database in those areas. We have tried to pay quite a bit of attention to all those alt sports, F1, UFC, wrestling cards. Our database is strong in those areas. Our database is also particularly strong when it comes to trading card games. Yeah. And we haven't, I don't think we've even really scratched the surface yet in terms of really marketing to the Pokemon community. Obviously we don't do content right now that's oriented to the Pokemon community.
Yeah.
But we've got a lot of Pokemon fans who use our product to track their Pokemon collections and price Pokemon cards. And we've got a lot of cards in our card database that we're tracking from that community, from that world. Yeah. And that's an area too where I think there's a lot of growth potential for us down the road.
We're going to be at Collecticon in a few weeks, and I'm excited about that, to just talk to them. And that is a space we really want to push into more. When you go look up the biggest Pokemon YouTube
they're huge.
It's unbelievable.
It is huge.
I mean,
multitudes,
seven figures.
You've got multiple Pokemon YouTubers that have over 1 million subscribers, multiple. Yeah. And here we are at Sports Card Investor as the largest in the sports card space at, I think we're like 330,000.
Yeah.
And so we're a fifth of some of the big Pokemon channels that are out there. And yet we're the biggest in our space. Yeah. And so you see that, just like as you were saying, like with the soccer earlier, like you see the size of some of these YouTubers that are talking about soccer and everything like that. And I see the size of some of these Pokemon folks. I'm like, man, there's a lot of people out there that collect cards, or that are into these other, are into stickers or whatever it may be. So I think a lot of opportunity for us to continue to grow from a product perspective, from a content perspective, lots of new audiences to conquer.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
Cool. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. I'm going to let you get back to work because I know you got a lot of work to get back to with all the user growth that we have seen, which has been awesome. But congratulations once again.
Yeah. I mean, I can't oversay it, like how appreciative I am of everybody who is a subscriber, people who use our apps, the feedback. Every time we get to activate at a show like the National or even some of the regional shows and talk to people, it's very edifying. It's really edifying to know that we're doing something that people find incredibly valuable. And when you have a paid app, I mean, that's the ultimate litmus test. People aren't going to pay every month for something if they don't think it's a good app and they don't enjoy using it and they don't find value at the end of the day for that. So we're going to keep working to add more value, to increase that over time, to grow the database, to listen to feedback. And it's just a privilege, honestly, to get to do this every day and get to work in software and in the sports card industry. So I'm very thankful for that. And I hope everybody who subscribes knows that.
There you go. Well said, T-Pott. Well said indeed. We love our subscribers. We could not do it without them. And we also could not do it without you listening to shows such as this. And I want to make sure that you know that you can listen to the full-length podcast of The Geoff Wilson Show. It's available both on Apple Podcasts and on Spotify. So make sure you're subscribed there, as well as subscribe to the YouTube channel that contains the full-length episodes. That is The Geoff Wilson Show YouTube channel. We appreciate you watching. We'll see you next week for our next episode. Take care.
Awesome.